one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Good afternoon, Discover Crypto family. We are seeing the market absolutely rippage to the upside. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is on the 1 hour chart. Let's put it on the 15 just so we can feel super bullish. Look at these moves to the upside. This is feeling very good. What are the levels that we need to pay attention to for a potential pullback here, which would still, in my opinion, be very bullish unless this particular level is hit if we pull back beyond a level. And I'm going to show you what that is. But also, the setup that we're seeing right now is showing overwhelming bullish sort of back end strength coming in. A lot of this bullish tension that has been building up where the bears thought they were getting their way. I mean, guys, we are in bull season, bull territory, bull trend, and it's just proving itself day in and day out. Even on this recent pullback that we had from $124,000 all the way down to $108,000. It was over, guys. Yet again, it turned into an incredible buying opportunity. But we have some major data that's come out in the last 24 hours that we need to pay attention to. Some of the biggest players in history also highlighting not only the fact that Bitcoin is undervalued, but also major integrations that we're seeing across the board. And what will point one feels so minuscule. What would 0.1 Bitcoin end up being worth here in the next 5 years or 10 years? It's going to be one of those priceless items, because I think everybody in the crypto ecosystem, even a lot of Bitcoiners, they're very reluctant to concentrate on stacking below 1 Bitcoin. I think it's ridiculous at the level we're at today with where this market's going and the price right now being $121,000 and the likelihood that the data that's suggesting so much higher. We need to be okay with stacking $200 at a time, $100 at a time. If you come up with $5,000 or $10,000 or $40,000, everybody is on a different economic strata. Everybody's coming from a different place in the world, and there's no right, wrong, real way to do this that is the only way. You have to make sure that for wherever you are at, financially, economically, geopolitically, it doesn't matter. Bitcoin is that item. Bitcoin is that thing. Bitcoin is that culture that doesn't care where you are, what you do. It's all about stacking and giving freedom back to the holders. Now, we have these other assets out here as well that all of us are so focused on because we are degens. But the question is, how many of these things that are degen plays or from Bitcoin maxis, everything that's not Bitcoin is a degen play, but how many of these things in the crypto market are actually stacking up to be blue chip, to be basically really institutional grade, really, those tried and true assets that are going to build legacy beyond just a few cycles into the next 5, 10, 15, 30 years plus, because we're starting to see some integrations and some developments in the altcoin ecosystem that is starting to separate certain altcoins from the rest of the altcoin pack. So let's jump into this. I'm being shilled. So many YouTube traders today. I think we're back, boys. Well, hey, you know what? We are here together. We are here live on BitLive Academy. We're live on Discover Crypto. We're live on MyX. We're live on the Discover Crypto X. I think we're live right now on Pump Fund as well. Shout out to everybody here. But we got some major signals I want to highlight. And we're going to run through the data right now, because where are we at? We're back above that $4 trillion market cap level. And this feels boring, but when you zoom out on this, you realize something overwhelmingly monumental. This is just in the last 30 days. In the last 30 days, we're down to about $3.74 trillion. Now we're back up here about $4.15 trillion. But when you look at this over the last year, I want you to remember, we're at $2.4 trillion total market cap for everything in the crypto ecosystem back here in April. The bottom of this market, the tariff washout, where Trump was the idiot. He was so dumb because the tariffs are going to ruin the economy. And yet you get back over here and you look at the market and you realize, oh man, he really ruined the economy. He ruined the market so much He ruined the market so much that we're just blasting into new all-time highs. I mean, where was that sell-off? Here it is right here. Boom. This is, no, that's not it. That's a 15-minute chart. What am I talking about? There we go. This is that sell-off where Trump is an idiot. And yet alone, we got a V-shaped recovery, and we've just been pushing to new high, new high, new high. In fact, today we opened today on a new high, guys. I mean, this market opened up here and has pulled back a little bit in this daily candle, but the pressures are going up. And we have signals right now that I'm going to be breaking down that I think some people are a little concerned, a little worried about what's going on with the government shutdown, how that could impact what's going on in markets. In fact, we see the best comments of the day right here from Joe Bro. He says, so if the government is shut down, does that mean any stock market buys made during shutdown or tax-free? No, that would be phenomenal, right? But that's not the case. But we do have some different tax implications that have changed and supercharged some of the outlook of what we're seeing going on for the corporate stackers that are out there, which is going to be good. Whether like this should be an asset for the people, but corporations are coming into this, institutions are coming into this, nation states are coming into this, and this does impact a very good aspect of the market, and that is the supply versus demand. When you're getting these major buys that are coming in, the major demand that's coming in exponentially from big market players, institutions, corporations, banks, governments, that is going to have pressure on basically the available supply, which thus will mean all of the demand that's there will have a larger impact, and thus price will likely see stronger movements to the upside, or at least bullish support within the chart. So when we're looking at the data, when we're looking at what's going on in the market, and we realize in April of this year, we're at 2.42 trillion. We're not quite at 2 trillion up. We're not quite at doubled it, but that's pretty close. 2.15, 4.15. That's what, like a $1.8 trillion increase in price value in the crypto market since April. Guys, we're doing all right, and we're seeing some major things in the market right now. I will caution you just in some general senses here. We do see some major growth, but we also see the average crypto RSI shows, this says overbought, and I hate that term. It shows that there's a lot of strength. When things get into an area of a lot of strength for a period of time, when they dip up into those areas, just like everything in markets, things oscillate from being very weak to very strong. Things oscillate from being very constricted in volatility to major expansions in volatility. All of these things, when you build these ingredients together and you look at how they correspond and sort of oscillate and correspond over time with different price action movements, these can be signal. In this case, we're seeing the average RSI is getting a little hot right now, and that's okay. It doesn't mean the market cycle is over, but it does mean when we're over here, this is the others chart, everything in the altcoins, when we are seeing, and you can see this just on the RSI right here. RSI is relatively high. It dipped above right here, above 70, coming back down a little bit, and this is okay. But the point here is when you see these movements up, and this is an aggregate, a bit of an index of everything in crypto outside of the top 10. When you see things moving up, it should not break your heart that you have, like for instance, right here, a movement up should not break your heart that you get a little bit of a retracement before the next leg up. You get a little bit of a retracement before the next leg up, because each time that happens, it gives you a bit more fuel to move further to the upside until that fuel runs out. And you figure that out by looking at the corresponding data rather than just being a slave to what the price is doing and the excitement or fear that brings within your strategy. So when we get back over here and we look at Bitcoin, look at this. 2 daily candles is massive, slicing right through the zones we talked about in the Discord. That link is down below in the description if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're watching on X, head over to the YouTube. It's in the description. I don't think you can see the comments if I post here. But what we're seeing here, we talked about this horizontal level of previous support here, resistance here. We sliced right through it, just like butter. And the reason this is important is because we also had this descending level of resistance through here. Yes, we had a deviation up, bit of a bull trap, right? Well, we also see, boom, these intersected with this horizontal line and this descending angled line right here, and this sliced right through it. And then again, right through this entire chop zone that we're seeing right here. Let's see, boom. this zone right here, which we've had marked out for several weeks now, and this sliced through both those zones. So this is showing a lot of relative strength in the market right now, which is very good. This is what we want to see if we're expecting continuation. Now, on this daily chart, if we are expecting continuation, I will say this: do not expect to have green candle, green candle, green candle, green candle every single time. This continuation and every bull market trend continuation in any asset that has ever existed tends to have movements like we see like this: rise up, sideways accumulation, a little bit of a sell-off, sideways accumulation up, or even right here, move up, sideways, move up, sideways. These cool-off periods where these the RSIs and the money flow and everything can sort of see where the bulls are coming in if the strength is still in control, and then you get that pop, those continued pop, stair-step moves to the upside. So my point with that is, as exciting as this is, and it is so exciting, is there indication that this is going to go up immediately, or are we going to have a little bit of a cooling period? Well, this is a daily chart, so which means every single individual candle is the day, is 1 day. Now, Kelly, I know that. Why are you saying the basics? Let's all take a step back and remember that there's more and more and more new people coming in that have ever been in this market before. And it's going to happen very exponentially over the next few months, especially as price goes bananas and ballistic. So we all need to do our part to be a little bit patient so I can drop alpha, so Drew can drop alpha, and DZ and TJ and the other crypto YouTubers or content creators that you watch, and realize that we've got to backpedal sometimes. We have to make sure that everybody that's listening is getting a good understanding and comprehension of what they're looking at, not just seeing a candle go, green candle mean buy. Then they buy and it drops and they're like, what the hell? We need to understand when you're looking at a chart, if this it says D, or right here, Bitcoin, US dollar, 1D, Bitstamp. This means Bitcoin valued in US dollars. Every candle is a 1 day candle. So each candle is 1 day. And this is the exchange of which they're looking at the pricing on. I know this sounds basic, and we're going to get into some incredible alpha here in just a second, but we got to inject these basic things here sometimes just to make sure people understand what's going on. So when I'm looking at this daily chart, every candle is a day. If I come over here, I can get better resolution on what's going on here. If I come down here to the 4 hour, for instance, in the 1 hour, because you can see this day is now broken up into a lot of individual 1 hour candles. And we can see the momentum sort of pushing up, expanding to the upside, getting a little weaker, and bulls and bears kind of fighting, and then the bulls take back over. Oh, the bears tried to scare you, but the bulls defended and it came back up. You're literally watching like an NFL Super Bowl or the what do they call the football, not the World Series, the Cup, World Cup. It's like watching the best sports match ever in life. Every single candle is showing you this battle between the bulls and the bear. And so when you're looking at them in conjunction with each other in patterns, you can see the different shapes that are taking place that can give you indication of what may be happening next. For instance, right here, the bulls pushed this up, but the bears brought it back down. I know that because this is basically a bullish candle. Bullish candles open at the bottom, they close at the top, but the wicks show you everywhere that price went within that time period. So in this case, the candle opened here. At some point during this candle, the price did drop, but it also pushed all the way up here and the bears brought it back down. The reason why this is important, this should not be boring to you, because when you're looking at this candle and you see the bullish momentum moving up, you see how this is a large candle, larger candle. Now the candle is a bit neutral. It went up, went down, it went neutral. The bulls tried to make a move here, brought it back down. This showed a little bit of near-term weakness. For those of you that are trading actively, this shows like on the 1 hour chart, right here, I would go in here and I'd go right here to like the 15-minute chart. I'd zoom in to see where that is. And you can see what that played out like in the 15-minute or smaller chart. And then boom, right here, you can see that on this candle, this 15-minute candle, that showed you would likely get a reversal. The reason why this is important, the more you know, it's kind of like that Reading Rainbow TV show. The more you know is a benefit for you not being emotionally moved by this market. Because if you're only expecting up, you're going to get wrecked. But if you're expecting generally price action moving to the upside, and you understand bull trends have rise consolidations, rise, retrace, continuation, all these different components. Then you break that down a bit further and realize with the candles themselves, they start giving these little breadcrumbs of information about who's in control at every candle, the bulls or the bears. This is why this is important. So when we're looking at the daily candle, and this is making those incredible moves to the upside, we see an expansion. Currently, this candle is smaller. So unless in the next 3 hours, the price action pushes a bit further, just from these two candles, I see an expansion in bullishness, meaning the candle's much larger. The bulls really took over here. But we also have to note that all of a sudden the bulls are getting a little bit of weakness here, which makes sense because we're testing into essentially where this range high area is and then the actual all-time high that's up here. So we're just going to be a little bit cautious here on if we're emotional, that we don't just jump into a trade here, because if you are super emotional, if you jump in here and it pulls back, you're going to get out and then the market's going to launch. So these things are important. So what is going to be the incentive? What is going to be the landscape that is going to influence what's going on right now? Well, let's go through it because we do have some key things we have to pay attention to. I am overwhelmingly bullish, but I cannot ignore the fact that we have a lot of liquidity below us, quite a few liquidity zones. But it's so bullish, Kelly, sure. But every time the majority or a good number of people in the market start going over aggressively long because they're so excited, it shows up in the data for everybody else in the market to see, or at least the people that are paying attention. And so what we see here is a lot of people are going leverage long. We had people trying to go short here. They got flushed out. We had some people trying to go short here, flushed them out, came down, tapped some liquidity, now flushed out. Look, boom, there's shorts that were piling up into here, cleared those shorts, consolidated a bit. Bulls took over on strength, and it's been melting to the upside. But now we have all these liquidity pockets that are below us that go all the way down here to about 111,000. But if you zoom out on this, for instance, on the weekly, you realize there's a lot of liquidity below us. And it really, the largest grouping on this 1 week chart is down here at $108,000. So you have to ask yourself, and this is where it gets frustrating for people, especially when you're newer in the market. Everything's so bullish, but then you learn about liquidation heat maps. Well, I thought it was so bullish, but they also said the price tends to go where the largest amount of liquidity is. Well, that very often can be the case, but you also have to pay attention to where you're at in the landscape and what the other pressures are on the market. So as bullish as I am, I'm aware that I might be getting some more buy opportunities if this does try to come down and trap some people before moving higher. I just wanted to point that out. Now, beyond that, there's some other major things at play in the last 24 hours, and I mean, really the last year has been monumental for the change in the foundation for this asset class. And case in point is this right here. Citibank and JP Morgan with statements and price predictions on Bitcoin. Not just price predictions, but JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, I guess Bitcoin is no longer a pet rock, because not only did they say it's undervalued compared to gold, and remember, Bitcoin's at $118,000 to $121,000 when this statement's coming out. Bitcoin's undervalued $121,000, and this went from one of the largest banks in the world, okay, JP Morgan. And they could see price going to $165,000. And then you got Citibank, another major bank, suggests that we could get about $132,000 Bitcoin by the year end and $181,000 in the next 12 months. So what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to just do our entire set of trading and investing based on what JP Morgan and Citibank do? Well, first thing, let me ask you, why are you in this asset class? I am not in this asset class to follow the banks. But I also cannot deny that there are, analytical geniuses on some scope in the way these major market players are able to analyze very deep data on what's going on in markets. But then you also have to ask the propaganda fashion of it, of how much of the analysis that they're doing is shaped by propaganda, meaning, are they looking to push people into Bitcoin? Are they looking to create a scenario where there's a lot of buyers so that then the market can reverse and go the other direction and they can take liquidity? These games happen in markets all the time with big financial market players. So while I'm very bullish on this, I think this is exceptionally exciting that we have players like JP Morgan, Citibank, Deutsche Bank, name the bank. They're all figuring out ways to get integrated with stable coins, with Bitcoin and crypto services and access and ETFs. It's now. The time is happening now. We're sitting here at $121,000. Price action is looking phenomenal, or just below $121,000. We understand where we're at on the map, of generally where we've come from, all the different chops and the reasons why it's chopped. And who cares about the reasons? Take every reason off your chart and realize that markets oscillate and they chop the most people out the most often as regularly as possible. The people that win in this market most consistently are ones that are able to see the fear in the market, or if not that, understand the data and fundamentals and projections of what is possible with an asset before other people do. And if it becomes questionable because the narrative in the propagandized mainstream media is trying to shake you out, they ignore that. This is a great point right here. When we had cascading failures where it felt like the entire crypto industry was about to fail entirely. And what happened? It basically ended with the FTX collapse. Then the price went sideways. And then here we've been moving up. And this still was in the face of resistance. This was in the face of the entire global orchestration central bank layer saying this stuff is scary. But then we got BlackRock, get the ETF application, which really propelled this forward into the mind share of the financial elite. BlackRock, Larry Fink, they're doing an ETF. We got their approval. Yet again, one of the biggest days in Bitcoin. The market sold off for the next 12 or 13 days, 21% to the downside. And then the market continued back up. So all of this, even with great news, the great news following through, the market still fell, but then did what? Continuation. So rise, retrace, continuation. Burn this into your brain as often as possible. That rise, retrace, continuation. Buy the rumor, sell the news, and then the follow through for the people that understand what's going on. This is going to happen time and time again. And then it took all the way until we got a different administration in power with right here, that then we got the expectation of what might happen. But that wasn't when he went into office. That was right here at the very peak of top. This was the inauguration. And then what happened? The rumor, the news, and then what? Continuation. Yet again, these things are happening over and over and over, and people keep getting so worried on the most silly things because the 4-year cycle. Stop the nonsense. Let's look at the data, guys. We are about to absolutely ride this pink pony princess into the sunset of profits so long as we can keep control of how we're feeling when the market and the price moves. The price means nothing in any asset if you don't utilize the price in concert with the data around the price, like the strength, like the money flow, like what the pattern structure is, what's the context that you can outlook and sort of attempt some sort of forecast, not only for yourself of the market, but also your forecast of what the market is going to expect, because you are trading against other people. Crypto Crank says, what's up, homeboy? What's up, homeboy? Dave Middleton, Dizzy Gang, how you doing? Eric Serrano, Aldo Guerrera, how you say it? Bitcoin is undervalued, right? I hear you there. Not lying, true story, says Seth Shepard. Carlo De Leon, DZ lost his tan. Hey, you know what? Lost his tan, but I'm trying to ball just like he is, you know what I mean? So, you just, high tea, baby. We gotta keep it going. But we got some other charts I want to show you, because it's not just Citibank and JP Morgan. This is good. Despite how stupid it is that banks are making this, getting involved, this is good when you consider that we have the ETF, sure, but we also are just now starting to get that ball rolling for the RIAs. What is an RIA? Registered Investment Advisors. All the different mom and pop, spots where your aunt, your uncle, and your grandmother, and your mother, and your father, they call their investment advisors. Hey, do you think I should get exposure to Bitcoin? Up until now, they've been large in part. I'm talking like overwhelming majority. No, that's just, it's not smart. But it's starting to get to the point where we're seeing a swing because the narrative has shifted. Everybody in traditional finance has had investments has been sold a bill of goods. Absolutely. And it's actually, I'll call it a bill of bads, not a bill of goods. Because they've been told that Bitcoin is an index for money laundering, that, crypto is only for criminals. They forget that, JP Morgan themselves banks about $500 or $600 billion allegedly, of cartel money and money laundering and stuff like that. And that's dollars. That's not crypto. Remember, we are getting away from all these narratives now, and we're seeing the major players across the global financial landscape getting overwhelmingly invested in terms of how they are taking the approach about the narrative around Bitcoin and crypto products, services, and ways that they can accelerate their own business practices. So it's not just JP Morgan and Citibank, though, guys. And I wanted to highlight here, this is very important too. Why is JP Morgan saying this? And this is going to be very important because it gives you a lens into some of the reasoning traditional finance players are looking, because we're looking at like a chart, right? We're looking like, oh, there's 60 million millionaires and there's only 21 million Bitcoin available. No, like traditional finance players out there are really looking at a lot of other detail. Like they're starting to look at the record low volatility. This has dropped significantly, but there's still a huge amount of volatility that is going to be had over the next many years. It's just not, it's not expected right now to go from 120 back down to 20,000, right? The price action and the strength in Bitcoin and the landscape of wallets, understanding the size of wallets, how often coins are moved within those wallets, all these things, in addition to looking at the price action and Bollinger Bands and Bollinger Band width percentile and all the, volatility indexes and stuff like that. There's major anchors within the Bitcoin ecosystem now, which is making it take that slower path to the upside, where we do get these moments where overwhelming buy pressure then makes it just pop up, and then it consolidates for 2 or 3, 4 months, and then it feels like it's dead again, and then it pops up. I think this is going to be the majority of the narrative probably for the next couple of years. I do think we may get one bit of a parabola with a larger sell-off, but I don't think we're in the days of the 65 to 85% crashes anymore. I think 65 would kind of be the max. I think we'll probably be in the 35 to 45% moves to the downside, and then some sideways consolidation and moves back up. But then we also see institutional adoption. Corporate treasury purchases now account for over 6% of Bitcoin supply. And this is going to increase dramatically because they're exponentially raising capital and getting more. There's more crypto treasuries coming out, and there's more money being raised, especially as the positive PR machine of price go up happens. There's more of a capital flow flywheel that comes into the market. And in addition to that, the Bitcoin and gold ratio, the volatility ratio between Bitcoin and gold has fallen to 2.0, suggesting Bitcoin is undervalued relative to gold. And we've seen gold go parabolic in a way that nobody really expected, larger than, I'm not sure we've ever grown as fast as we have in terms of the price of gold. And that the previous moves in gold to the upside have front ran the large moves in Bitcoin when those parabolic moves kick off. And then, of course, this is what I was talking about earlier, the on-chain metrics. Indicators like the MVRV, the market value to realized value, suggest Bitcoin is near a local bottom. And the current market cap would need to raise by about 13% to reach the $126,000 target. And this is a near-term thing. Then we got macro environment. JP Morgan also points to macro environment factors such as weakening US dollar and expectations of Fed rate cuts. We're in this rate cut cycle as supportive for higher Bitcoin prices. And it's not JP Morgan. It's not Citi. It's not like just the front runners here. We're seeing these across the board. And some of those, like for instance, Invesco, $2 trillion investment arm out there. And what do we see? They just bought $60 million worth of Bitcoin. But I have something to tell you. This is great. I hope to see a lot more of this, and we're seeing this exponentially. But take a gander at this. This is not even Bitcoin exposure. This is the top 25 largest institutional Bitcoin ETF holders. So this is a huge amount of demand for Bitcoin is coming in through ETFs because of the very cut and paste, understood clarity around the ETF regulations. We've seen a major amount of interest and adoption and accumulation in Bitcoin ETFs. When people buy a Bitcoin ETF like IBIT or Fidelity, whatever Bitcoin ETF they're getting, those ETF custodians like BlackRock or Fidelity, Bitwise, so on, at VanEck, so on and so forth, they then have to go and buy the Bitcoin to represent the purchase amount that they got. So there is that amount of Bitcoin is getting put into these large allocations of the types of players that aren't day trading the asset. These are longer term minded players. And just take a look at this. You don't need to read every one of these, but just look at the value here. The type of assets under management, Jane Street is 506 billion. Susquehanna International, 720 billion, 736 billion, 205 billion. Why are these not in order? Because the order here is based on how much Bitcoin exposure they have through ETFs. $4.3 billion in Bitcoin, 3.3, 2.5 billion, 2.3 billion, 1.8 billion, 1.4 billion. The canary is already out of the coal mine, everybody. If you do not have an aggressive plan to figure out how you can stack into this market and trade at your heart's desire, but make sure you have a mid to longer term, at least a mid, but a mid to longer term strategy so that you can stack in and not get left behind in this ultimate opportunity zone that we're in the world right now. It feels like I'm an Amway salesman talking about this, but people keep forgetting that this opportunity is the changing of the entire global financial guard. And those of us that are paying attention to this can ride the coattails into greatness just by not making stupid moves because we want this meme coin because it's going to move faster. Great. Do it with an astronomically small percentage of your portfolio. Don't do it with your capital that you think is going to make you have a portfolio. Some of you will. Some of you will make hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars on meme coins or on that microcap altcoin that somebody told you about. But the fact of the matter is the lottery system that is such a small percentile possibility that it makes more sense to get focused on Bitcoin, on Ethereum, on Chainlink, on Solana, on Avalanche, on these top cap coins that have overwhelmingly incredible integrations and partnerships. They're doing real things, real utility. We're seeing how they're being deployed. The user base is growing. The sort of corporate acceptance and approval of these assets. And you can take smaller portions of your portfolio like I do as well. I have dog on Bitcoin. It's a meme coin. Yeah, I talk shit, but then I also play in the slop. But I do it with a smaller percentage of my portfolio that if it goes to zero in the next 3 minutes, it doesn't affect my outlook on life. It doesn't like discount my ability to participate in this market. Far too many people get far too FOMO'd excited about something that has a very small possibility of doing real positive things for them. So we got some coins we got to look at. We got to look at some TA, but I got to get through a couple more things first, and we're going to do that. All these major institutional players stacking Bitcoin like there's no tomorrow. The 25th one out of the top 25 has almost $300 million worth. We are seeing this increase at an astronomical rate. This is what we're looking at back here, and this is right when this is the day of the ETFs launching, January 10th. 2024. No, Kelly, that says October 1st. No, this is people that are not in America. This is how everybody else does the day, month, year. To understand, get out there, travel, understand. America is not the center of the universe, guys. Everybody needs to travel more, understand a bit more culture, and figure out what's going on. But this is January 10th, the day the ETFs got approved, okay? The day after the ETFs got approved, then that was January 11th. You see how those numbers work? But look at this. We had about 186 institutions that were involved here. And I would imagine, and I could be wrong, but I would imagine this has something to do with some of the ETFs that are elsewhere in the world. I'm not really sure. I'll have to ask the Rational Root. He's a friend of mine. He's the one that does this platform. But 186, that's the number. And then look at the growth here. Now we're up here. I mean, astronomical. 10x. No, yeah, 10x from there. 1959. And this is only going to increase over time. More and more demand and capital coming into this market. And we're going to see this across other aspects of the market as well. The altcoins are going to see some major runs as well. Now, are they as safe as Bitcoin? I don't think so. But I'm still a degen and I'm going to play in them. And I know you are, as all are going to do as well too. So do it smart and keep a Bitcoin focus. And then we talk about why are all these corporations getting involved? We also saw this increase positively for corporates right here. U.S. Treasury exempts Bitcoin and crypto from 15% corporate minimum tax. Well, what the heck does that mean, Kelly? Well, let's break it down. I broke it down on Grok, exactly why it matters. Tax savings. That's not sexy. Well, let's talk about why it's sexy. Eliminates potential multi-billion-dollar liabilities on unrealized gains. So one of the reasons corporations and institutions have been so lackluster and not fervently stacking in is because, one, we had a stupid rules about fair value accounting. So if you bought Bitcoin today, or let's say January 2nd, and the price fell 15% for 2 days, and then the price came back up to zero, and the rest of the year, now you're up 300%, but you haven't sold, you still would have to declare an unrealized loss, basically, because the price went down earlier. They've changed that. Finally, fair value accounting is back, just like we have with stocks. But then there's this other deal here with being taxed on unrealized gains. Now, for instance, MicroStrategy, strategy faced a $4 to $5 billion in projected, basically this tax that we're talking about right here. So in summary, this is a crypto-friendly clarification that primarily benefits big corporate players, which is fine because we're not getting taxed in the US on unrealized gains or unrealized losses. So this kind of puts them on an even footing. So this is good. This opens a doorway a little bit further for big money to get involved. And then we see this. We do have the government shutdown. So what does it mean for the crypto market? Everybody's so excited about these ETFs. Eleanor Terra here says, as I understand it, the shutdown could affect the Litecoin ETF approval because the SEC still needs to sign off on the S1, and the agency is operating on a skeleton crew. It's unclear what remaining staff is working, what or where their priorities are at the moment, so on and so forth. But remember, we had I think it's October 2nd, which is today, October 10th, October 16th. There's several ETFs that were supposed to be groups, not just individual ETFs. Remember, XRP's got 8. Solana has 8 or 9. We've got all these ETFs. And when those get passed, they'll probably all get passed in large batches. So one ETF doesn't dominate over the other for that specific asset, right? You can't have one. If we got, say, 8 Solana ETFs, they're not going to pass one today when they're all have their applications in, and then another one in 3 weeks, and another one. And same thing like they did with the Bitcoin ETFs. They all got approved on January 10th, and they went live on the 11th, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. It's just, this world is moving so fast these days, guys. There's a couple other, government shutdown. Now we're talking about the risk in the markets. The S&P 500 rallied 10%, which is massive for stock market. Okay. The S&P 500 rallied 10% during the last government shutdown in 2018. So if we're seeing the fervent, incredible bullishness around Bitcoin and the crypto asset market class right now, and there's risk on narratives that we're seeing in the S&P 500, and gold is still rocketing. For me, this is further supporting bullishness in Bitcoin and crypto broadly, but it also to me is delaying where the top of this market will be, further exemplifying for me that we're not going to be in a 4-year cycle for this market. So just highlighting that. And then of course, CME Group launches 24/7 trading for crypto futures and options. So no longer, let's just do it on the traditional legacy, outdated bullshit models that we've seen that we're replacing with crypto. Why do those on those old models? So thank God they're taking some steps up there. And then again, where are we at? I want to remind everybody, gentle reminder, Bitcoin's path to here, where we're at and where it's going in the near future, posted this months ago. And this is what we talked about right in here, this level, watching the breakout of here, a little consolidation and the targets that we have above. In fact, I've updated this chart a little bit. Actually, I just have it live. I'll show it to you live because we have clearly broken out of this. But we've been talking about this for months on this channel. And again, Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, the big investor, writes a lot of books, a powerful speaker. He says that, and this is very important, and I agree with this. This goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Do not discount yourself of getting Bitcoin because you're like, oh man, I can't get a whole Bitcoin. You don't need to. You can get 0.000125. You can get 0.016, 0.001. Stack. Get to 0.01. Get to 0.1. Get to 1 if you can. Get to 10, wherever you're at on your economic strata. Do not do the dumbest thing in the market that people do, and retail do it all the time. It doesn't matter what the price is when you're looking to buy. This is not cheaper than Bitcoin. $4,400 Ethereum is not cheaper than Bitcoin because it's 4,000 and that's $120,000. It has no relation. You're looking at the circulating supply. Okay. That's what you want to see. The circulating supply divided by the market cap gives you the price. Okay. So 120 million tokens. There's only 19.9 million Bitcoin right now. Okay. You get down here, BNB, 139 million. So is this cheaper than Ethereum? I would say yes, because these are close enough. And I think BNB is going to go on some moon rocket share here in a little bit. I think this is going to compete with Ethereum up here, because look at this. The market cap here is 540 billion, over almost $1 trillion, right? Half a trillion dollars, I should say. But BNB is 150 billion. So there's a big gap there. So this isn't cheaper because this is 1,000 and this is 4,000. I'm looking this in relationship to the tokens, to the market cap, and to what it's doing in its niche. Then you got Solana. Is this cheaper than BNB? Because it's only, I want to get this because it's 231. That's cheaper. So when this goes to 1,000, these things aren't the same. Look, 543 million tokens versus 139. And again, these aren't good things, bad things, right things, wrong things. Cardano, for instance, is 35 billion. Does that make it worse because it has more tokens? No, it's just different ways that they're utilizing these tokens within their ecosystem and different reasons why they have that many tokens. So right here, case in point, 86 cents. Do not buy Cardano because it's 86 cents and you're hoping for this to get up to what Ethereum's price is or what Bitcoin's price is, because these things are not the same. Now, I think Cardano is going to perform incredibly, but we cannot look at the price in relationship to other assets around it without also considering the total number of tokens. Look, Cardano has a higher price than Dogecoin. Why is it below it? Because look, 151 billion tokens and still counting. That's why. So this is cheaper, but the market cap, see this? The market cap, this is cheaper, 25 cents. Market cap is a lot larger. So we want to pay attention when we're dancing through all these different things. And as I just pointed out with Robert Kiyosaki, where was that at? Robert Kiyosaki, 0.01 Bitcoin is going to be a lot. My point with this is, do not get Bitcoin because you can only get a small, a 0.002 or always have Bitcoin in your portfolio. Also, when you're looking at altcoins and we see the signs and signals that we're about to get an overwhelming boom to the upside, if you look at the past cycles performance, if you look at what's going on with the large cup and handle, when you look at what's going on with, again, I'll go back to the past cycles performance, but right here, this structure that we've seen, run up to the upside, sell off, run up to the upside, crash, boom. Run up to the upside, sell off, run up to the upside a little bit. Didn't really get that big washout, but we also didn't have the world economy shut down, right? So this might have been a black swan, this move right here that we're not going to see over here, but very similar structure. Let me turn off the moving averages just to remind you. Look at how similar these structures are. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Then the only thing left is boom, 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 boom. I want my coins to moon. That's right. But you got to be in them if you want them to. So do not get unit bias, meaning this thing costs this amount of, this is 20 cents and that's 1,000. So I don't want that thing that's 1,000. The thing that's 1,000 might be better positioned in the chart or in the portfolio that you're building to do better. Do not buy things on unit bias because we've got overwhelming boom season to come. And I highlighted this yesterday. We are, in my opinion, we're like probably here on the chart, 2017 chart of what we're seeing about where we're at. But we had this red early, great. But we also had a new all-time high before the halving. We also had ETFs getting involved. We also had the race with, the presidential race that was happening that started highlighting that we might start getting some changes in crypto regulation. There was a lot going on in this time right here. In fact, the ETFs just got approved right as we went into this peak. weeks before this. So the landscape looking forward is going to be a lot more extended. The altcoins that we're talking about they're going to do some different things, but I want to do something here with the fam in the Discord. I asked the family in the Discord, I said, hey, I'm going to do 4 charts today. I said 3, but I'm going to do 4 because I'm a lover. I'm going to do some TA, 4 p.m. live stream. They said Arrow, Mamo, Crow, and Ondo. That was the 4th, but we're going to do those, and we'll do 1 or 2 others as well. But I want to highlight this because, guys, I really do think this setup, whether we get that full, even if it's only 100% or 70%, or I think we are going to get a large move out of this based on everything that I'm seeing. So let's go through and look at those. Now, what was the first one? Arrow. Shout out. If you hold Arrow, throw a 1 in chat. Big love to each and every one of you starred. Let's see. Kevin C, $5 super chat said, Ayo, Kelly, love and positivity. Thank you for all you do. Thank every single one of you for tuning in here, being active in the live chats, hitting the like button. We fight with algorithms on YouTube. On X isn't so bad. They just push it. YouTube, it's like you got to make sure you don't say something that offends somebody, or you go into, algorithm jail and they don't show you to anybody. So when you guys hit the like button, you type, even 2 or 3 words in the live chat here, or drop in comments down below the video after it's live. Even if you're here on the live, when it's done, drop some things down below it on the actually posted comments. It really does help the algorithm to help keep our business afloat, so we can continue bringing you these, the data, the charts, our thoughts, our opinions, what's going on. Because here at Discover Crypto, our friends, our family, the crew here, we've all been in these markets. Every one of us, I think, has been at least 6 or 7 years. And some of it, like me, I've been in 2015, 2016. We've been around. We've ridden the dragon. I've lost $100,000 trades. Metaphorically wanted to jump out a window, and I was like, no, I have to divorce myself from my attachment to money, 1, and 2, nothing in my life changed. My heart was broken. I was like, oh, I'm not a man. I suck. I shouldn't be doing this. Everybody else is better. Oh my God, the market's a scam. Then I realized, no, you know what's a scam? Not using the same exact risk management strategies that I knew I should have been using. Not taking the steps I needed to keep my money. Everybody gets so focused on making money, like getting huge gains in this market, and they forget one of the number one things you want to do if you're expecting to make money in a market, especially over time, is your focus needs to also be on keeping your money, meaning risk management, taking smart bets, diversifying them in different ways, meaning whether it's Bitcoin, that should be your primary driver. Altcoins, sure, but do it in a smart risk mitigated way. If you're trading, doing it where you're not going 77x long on your entire portfolio. Have a actual leverage account that is separate from your other main portfolio, so you don't actually cross leverage and then all of a sudden your account's drained and you're like, oh, I messed up. Will you guys reimburse me? No, the exchange won't reimburse you because you did a jackass move and you stepped in the pothole, so your ankle's going to be broken. That's how these markets are dog eat dog. That's why Discover Crypto in our Discord here on the live streams, we want to make sure you don't fall or step into the same potholes we did. So let's look at these charts, guys. Let's do this together. I'm keeping my money, says King David. That's my goal. I want you all to keep your money. I want you all not only to keep your money, to expand it. In order to do that, you have to focus on making sure you're keeping it, but also taking calculated risks. So weekly chart, I mean, this is just frustrated everybody. This is kind of like the story of the altcoin runs the last year and a half. The alt season that didn't happen, but then it went lower. And now we're kind of on the cusp of what I actually think is going to be alt season. But I thought you were saying it's time to FOMO. No FOMO. I think it's time to have your bets placed and get aggressive in certain areas, and also have your outlook not be so fearful about what this 4-year cycle is going to do. You should have already had a strategy about what you're going to be doing into this Q4, and you may adjust that a little bit as these dynamics have changed. But we should always have an understanding of what our goals are with the trade or position every time we enter it. And then you can adjust those along the way, so long as you're not throwing everything out with the bathwater. But okay, here we go. Aerodrome. One of the things I've talked about a lot here on Discover Crypto, on BitLab Academy, both, is this market, specifically crypto, has been chopping people out intentionally over and over. Rising wedges should break down. So nobody was prepared for this. So this goes up. They're like, oh, it must be breaking out. They get in here and then they get wrecked. So this is not just Aerodrome. This is every crypto asset I've seen over the last year and a half. The fake out up, the fake out down, back there, and then you get the actual move. So we got the fake out up. We got the fake out down. I think we're setting up now to get a little chop in here and then a pop to the upside. This is on the weekly chart. But what do we always do? Every one of you, what do we do when we look at a chart? Look at it, take it into your vision. What does it look like, right? Just look at it. And then look down at the data down here. Whether you're looking at RSI and money flow, or if you're looking like, for instance, I have, where's this one at? Lux algo. You can have a variety of stuff. A market cipher, right? You can look at market cipher. You can look at BitLab Trading Stack. Where's that at? BitLab Trading Stack, very similar to what you see on market cipher. You can get over here and look at everything: money flow, MACD, RSI, stochastics. You have to pick how you want to do it. You can build your templates, and then you come up here. Once you have the indicators on your screen, you come up here where these squares are. You click on that and you do save indicator template. And then once you save it, you put a star next to it. The star is what puts it right here. So you can go very quickly between different templates. So in this case, for you all, for the live streaming, I like to keep it simple: money flow and RSI. So what are we looking at? We have the price moving, and the RSI on the weekly has moved up here, even with this downtrend here. The RSI is firmly above the 50 line, meaning strength is in control. Strength is in control. That's on the weekly. So now let's take it down. Let's look at the 8 hour. Okay. On the 8 hour, we did lose the 50. So is it the end of the world? No, because we've seen some oscillations here. But what I'd be watching for here on Aerodrome, yes, we're back above these two moving averages, but we have this multi-month all the way into March of last year. Look, boom, this trend line right here, this diagonal. I'd be just a little cautious in the near term up in this zone for if you're expecting this just to blast through, which it may, but I would just be a little bit cautious here just as this approaches, because you missed the breakout of this. Either watch for a little bit of a drawdown here and then an attempt at this line. But I am expecting some sort of either slice through, bounce, go, or a rejection fakes you out that it's done and then go. Okay. So that's what I'm looking for on Aerodrome. When we see the money flows coming in, we see the RSIs popping up. That's on the 8 hour. What does it look like on the 4 hour? Okay. 4 hour, well back above the 50 line. The RSI, the money flow is looking a little weak, but same thing I was talking about with the other, but look where the price is. Price is right where the previous range lows are. Isn't it funny how that happens over and over and over and over and over again on every asset all the time ever? And everybody always forgets it. Price is moving up and they go, well, I don't know where it's going to go. Zoom out a little bit. Look at that. This dotted line is the exact price. Look at where it's having trouble, where all of this price action is chopped before. So that's Aerodrome. The other one was Mammo. I'm not sure. I might have charted this once. Mammo. Yeah, we're going to look at Ondo here. Let's see where we at. Mammo. We're going to stay on the 8 hour because I need to get out of here in a few minutes. I'm going to save my dog. I'll tell you what, I love my dog, but holy moly, I don't have kids, so don't hate me for saying this, but I feel like I have a kid. I mean, I love the dog so much, but it's also like so much care. Going back and forth to my house. Luckily, I'm very close to the studio to walk her. Gosh, she was sick the other day. It was just like took her out every 31 minutes. In some ways, she brings out the lowest version of myself because you take her out to take a shit and you've got to go and you got to leave somewhere. And she's more concerned with smelling this leaf. No, I got to smell this leaf. No, I got to smell that. You are turtle heading right now. Focus so I can take you back inside so I can go. Okay, that's my rant right there. I love her to death, but it is exhausting me. Bro, dogs are kids. They are a lot of work. I'm just about to get a cat. Dizzy gang. All right. So Mammo, what do we got? Okay. We got a nice move up. move down. The market in general feels like it wants kind of broadly have some moves to the upside. So I don't want to disregard all of this, but understanding that we're starting to see some breakouts of these downtrends. Breakout, retest, move back up. RSI, look, breakout on the RSI. Remember, we look at price, and then we look at least two other data-driven points. So here's price. We have a trend line. We look down the RSI. It did move up. It came down, found support in that sort of middle range, smaller market cap coin. So it doesn't have to bounce right on 50, but just sort of that range. Like, I'd say like 55 to like 45, this sort of range. It pushed up. It's trying to find support. So if this can find support and stay up here, not break down and reject and continue down. But the money flow also flipped positive here. So this is looking like, price went right up into this zone, right up. I mean, look at this. You can't make it up. Where did the price go? Right up to previous range high, previous range low. This happens over and over and over again. So on that note, if the market has some weakness, I would expect this to come back down, somewhere in here, maybe consolidate sideways a little bit. But this is looking to me like it's setting up for a move. That's my opinion. Crow's the other one. Crow. Okay, we talked about this the other day. I think I talked about it in the morning Discord stream. But the breakdown here, the rejection. Okay, this is that fake out. Remember I told you before, the market is faking people out in every direction all the time. It's like everything everywhere all at once in these markets. Okay, this is bullish. It's a falling wedge. It should break bullishly. And then the second it breaks bearish, people lose their minds. And then it confirms it's going to break down. And what happens? Confirms, and then it's like, psych, mofo. And it comes back up. Now we're getting a little bit, we may get a bit of a bull trap here, bounce, and then go. Because these markets have been moving in both directions before following through with the move. But look at where the price went. I'm just going to put my mouse right here. I'm going to do Option H. Look again, price, boom, right to the previous range lows. Telling you guys. So on this move, if this does continue up, I'll be watching for a target up here about 24.2. If this has a little bit, I'd like to see a little bit of a bull flag here. If we do get a pullback, I'd like to see it down to about 20 cents. Maybe as low as about 20 cents, because we have a rising level of support there. I could just see that with my eyes. Rising level of support, and it also kind of comes in to test right about this neckline right in here. Ondo was the other one. Ondo finally catching a bid. Holy moly. They've been doing so much good work lately, and they, for whatever reason, didn't move. But that was the market in general. It wasn't Ondo. We all need to realize that. So we're getting the move to the upside. We have a small bit of a downtrend right in here, right? Boom, broke out. Cool. We sliced right through the level that we highlighted this morning. And so we're kind of, again, money flows up. RSI is above the 50 line right here. And this is the most basic TA you can think of on RSI. But I do that so you guys can understand. If the RSI is breaking back above the 50 line on your time frame, the strength is starting to stay in control. You just want to make sure on any moves down that the RSI also finds support and it doesn't break back down, reject, and go like this. This means weakness is taking back over. So what we're seeing here is it's promising on the 4-hour chart. RSI is getting a little flat. Money flows up. Yeah, again, we're seeing this sort of sign that we might see some consolidation or a little bit of a dip before a rip. This is across the board on most assets that we're looking at right now. Yeah, but that's all I got, everybody. We want to look at Link too. I told you I would look at Link. I'll look at Link. Told you I'd look at Link in the Discord. I'll look at Link. Okay, great. So what I'm looking for here, two things. Descending parallel channel. We kind of have a middle line right about right here, right? This is just estimated, but about a middle line right in here. We had an inverse head and shoulders, fake out to the downside, faking people out. Oh, it's going to die. And then it comes back up, finds support, and launches, right? This is an inverse head and shoulders, showing that we're likely going to be a reversal. There's a boom, shoulder, head, shoulder. So on that note, we had a neckline right here. So two things have happened. The price action has moved up. We're also on the stronger half of this parallel channel, kind of like the RSI, right? Right here, look, option V. This pushed up, found support on the 50 line, and it's pushing up. Similarly, price pushed up. Found support on the 50 line and starting to push up. So I'd be waiting for, there's a little bit of lacking of money here, but there's been so many overwhelming bullish things that have happened with Cibos and all their integrations and partnerships and everything that they're doing. I think Drew did a video on it earlier here on Discover. Go back and watch that. But I think this is going to be one of those assets that everybody is just like kind of counting out because it's not moving the way they want it to. Let's turn off. Let's go to this chart over here. Oops, here. Just clearing it up just a touch. That I think we're going to do something like where this market just, there we go. This just all of a sudden, what will feel like all of a sudden just absolutely. I mean, that it'll be a lot quicker than that because this is the weekly chart, but just mega send, up into the 200s, 80, 150, 200, 300. We'll get a sell off, boom. But I do think this is one of those assets that's here to stay. So this looks like it's on the cusp. This looks like it's on the edge of glory. Right there, baby. Right on a multi-year trend line. Back to 2021. Rejection. W formation here into that rejection. Really slingshot it up. And in so doing, now we've got a bit of a bull flag. Guys, I don't think we're ready for what's coming. Stack. I love you. Hope you all have an absolutely phenomenal day. We'll be doing some spaces. I'll be doing some Twitter X spaces, audio spaces on Thursday afternoons, starting next week. Not video, just audio, so we can bring people up, and I'm gonna bring other guests on and stuff. But also we'll have the Bitcoin IRA team on there with me, or Chris, who's just a G. He understands these markets so much, and he gets some sort of inside knowledge because they're managing over $14 billion. It might be 19. I don't know. It's a huge amount of money for their portfolios and stuff of people on their platform. And I highly recommend it if you are looking long term at all, which you should. You can day trade your altcoins, up to 80 different altcoins, and rotate those profits into Bitcoin along the way, and basically have them in a tax deferred thing because you're trading it in a retirement account, and it's all regulated and all. It's got all the things that you would want with a retirement account. So give them a call. Save yourself 20, 30, 40% tax hits on your profit taking when you're rolling into Bitcoin. It will be an astronomical difference at the long term of what your profits would be. Give them a call. 1-877-936-7175. Let them know Kelly sent you. Again, that's 1-877-936-7175. BitcoinIRA.com for more information. Of course, Arculus, and I'm going to leave you with this ad. I hope you all have a phenomenal day. Adios.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.